This is a quick introduction to holy science, the harmony of the universe through numbers, music, and geometry. Unity, duality, and trinity. There are three worlds in this universe. This universe is comprised of the code, energy, matter, the source world, the flow world, and the shadow world. The visible universe that we can see is only 5% of the entire universe. In the beginning, the earth was without form and void, and the Spirit of God moved across the face of the water. But the Bible really meant to say, in the beginning the universe was without form and void. So all you have is the consciousness of spirit and nothingness. Spirit wants to experience itself, but it cannot take form in void. It cannot fall, it cannot rotate, it cannot go backward, forward, up, down, side to side. There is no relative axis. Other than void, the simplest things that can exist in this universe are the dot, or the singularity, the straight line, and the circle, or the sphere, which is the three-dimensional emanation of the dot. When you are the mirror, you cannot look into the mirror because you are the mirror. You can't look at the back of your own head with your own two eyes. When you are unity, the Alpha, the Omega, past, present, and future, you can't experience yourself. Spirit wants to experience itself. So it casts a perfect circle, a perfect sphere of conscious awareness around itself in 360 degrees. And it does this so it can move from the center of its reference frame to the outside edge of this conscious reference frame and look back on what it created. That's why in the Bible, in Genesis, after each day of creation, God looks back on what he did and sees that it's good. This is unity. When spirit gets to the edge of the circle, it can do only one thing and create another perfect, identical circle. These circles have to be perfect and they have to be identical. This creates duality from the unity. Light, dark, good, bad, matter, antimatter, matter, positive, negative. And it creates this symbol right here, called the Vesica Piscis. When we extend the membranes of the circle, this is where we get the Jesus fish. But this is also the shape of an eyeball, the shape of a seed, the shape of a sperm, the shape of your pineal gland or third eye, the shape of your mouth, the shape of a sound wave, the shape of a vagina. And when you put a line right here down the center in the z-axis, the three-dimensional axis, this is the geometry of a photon. Science would tell you that light does not have geometry because it has no mass, but this is the shape of light. So anything in this universe that has to do with life, light, perception, or consciousness comes from this shape in some way. Because spirit is flawless, it moves flawlessly. And it moves to where these two circles come together and creates another third circle. This creates the Holy Trinity: mind, body, spirit, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Mother, Father, Child. And when you connect with the male straight lines, the circle of the sphere is a female geometry. It's nourishing, it's creative. The straight line is a male geometry. It's destructive. When you connect where these circles meet, and you connect where the hearts meet, and the edges of each circle run through the hearts of each other, with the male straight line, this births a perfectly symmetrical, perfectly balanced equilateral triangle. And in the heart of that triangle is another perfectly balanced equilateral triangle that is polarized. In the beginning, there were 6. Spirit does this 6 more times around the center circle. When it does, it creates this shape here, the 6-pointed star, the Star of David. This is also called the Merkaba. And it creates this pattern here. This is called the seed of life, or the Genesis pattern. This is where Genesis in the Bible gets its name and its story from. And you'll see this flower shape. This shows us the 3 dimensions, or 3 directions in this universe. It shows us the interior structure of an atom in the singularity. It shows us a hexagon, which is the fundamental pattern of all reality, of all manifestation, and the 6-pointed star. When you take away this flower, and you picture these as 3-dimensional spheres, there'd be 8 of them, and it makes a cube of spheres. This is also the morphinogenic structure that the first 8 cells of your body were inside of your mother's egg in her womb before her body told these 8 cells to start dividing into binary sequence. We go from these 8 cells to 47 trillion in 21 divisions. Spirit continues to do this over and over again and creates this pattern called the flower of life. The flower of life extends past this circle here. The circle is called the zona pellucida. You see there's a cube in here. This is Pandora's box. This circle is always here. The flower of life can be found on every continent, of every culture, of every religion, of every language, of every race, of every creed, of every kind on this planet. And it's always called the same thing, the flower of life. And it always has this circle in the same place. This is called a zona pellucida. It's a cell wall. It's what separates it from its surroundings. Your skin is your zona pellucida. The reason that the zona pellucida is here is because of what it hides. This symbol can also be found at 3 pillars in Karnak, Egypt. And it's not carved, etched, or burned. It is lasered through the atomic structure of the rock. Now, when you take away that zona pellucida and you look deeper into the circle, you get this shape right here. This is called Metatron's cube. Within these 13 circles are 13 informational systems that describe every single aspect of this universe. It leaves absolutely nothing out. And it also, when you connect the hearts of each of these female circles with a straight line, and you connect each heart to every other heart, this births every geometry in existence. But most importantly, it births the 5 Platonic solids, named after Plato, the Greek philosopher. Other than the dot, the straight line, and the sphere, these are the 5 simplest things that are allowed to exist in this universe and still maintain perfect balance, perfect symmetry. Their characteristics are like a cube. They have the same amount of faces with the same sum angles, the same amount of edges that are all the same length, and you can draw a circle around any Platonic solid, and the corners will touch the circle perfectly without going outside of the circle or falling inside of the circle. Now, what's important about this? Every element on our periodic table, the very subatomic fabric that makes up every single thing in this universe that is matter or material, owes its existence to one of these 5 shapes. That's why the periodic table is grouped into 5 groupings. Modern science has only found this out recently. You have the octahedron, the tetrahedron, the cube, the dodecahedron, and the isosahedron. Interestingly, something that Johannes Kepler found, that when you put a circle in the center of one of these Platonic solids, or a sphere, it would touch all the faces evenly. When you put another circle around the outside, or a sphere, it will touch all the corners evenly. These are the relative orbits of our planets in this solar system. I'll go into that later. But basically, it means that in between the orbits of our planets exist these geometries in the Aetheron reality. The ray of ascension, or the ray of creation and the stairway of ascension, is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Unity, duality, trinity, the hex head. Basically, you have 1, 2, 3, 6, 12, 24, and 48. I'll explain this later. When I take a circle that is 360 degrees, 3 plus 6 is 9. When I bisect that circle, it's 180 degrees. 8 plus 1 is 9. If I bisect it again, 90 degrees. 9. If I bisect it again, it's 45 degrees. 4 plus 5 is 9. If I bisect it again, 11.25, that's 9. If I bisect it again, 22.5, that's 9. This will go on into infinity and always reduce to 9. This represents the singularity, the point of infinite density, infinite matter, infinite mass. Now, when I take all geometries and I put them into the circle, their sum angles also all equal 9. 180, 360, 540, 720, 900, 1440, and so on. This represents the infinite vacuum. This is showing us a toroidal field. When I take 1 through 8, excluding 9, and add them up, it equals 36. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 is representing itself and nothing at all. It's representing the singularity in the vacuum, something that comes out from the infinite singularity into the infinite vacuum and then back into the infinite singularity, and so forth. The circle that you just saw is the female geometry. The male geometry of the toroid is the star tetrahedron, or the Star of David. This is a vortex, the Merkaba. Our ancestors called this the light body, or the chariot of ascension, or the chariot of the angels. It's also called the seal of Solomon, but what it really is the seal of the soul of man. This, like the flower of life, is a bounded infinity. You see, you have your star tetrahedron here, and then in each one of these circles, if I circle each triangle and I polarize it, I get 6 more star tetrahedrons. Inside of those, I get 6 more star tetrahedrons. If I had a computer program that would zoom in, do this, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, this would go forever, and you would never, ever, 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 ever exceed your original boundary condition. This is how we have an infinite universe in a finite state. This, next to the flower of life, is the second symbol of the 2 symbols that are the equation for world peace and planetary unity. This is called the enneagram. Again, its beauty is its simplicity.